Welcome back here, boys and girls. It's that time of day again here, folks. 8 o'clock Eastern Time every trading evening. Welcome back to our nightly newsletter. My name is Joseph James. Today is the 8th day of the 4th month of the year, April 8th, 2014. Before we jump into today, I want to remind you guys, I have a free pass for you to attend our live trade room. Check out the free pass in the upper left-hand corner over here at sidewaysmarkets.com. If you're not watching our newsletter right now, on our blog at Sideways Markets, make sure you follow the link below the video on our YouTube page and head on over to sidewaysmarkets.com and make sure you check out the newsletter here because you've got all of your supporting documents. Now, I also have the ability for you to download all of today's charts and all of the commentary by following that link right there, right below the video, and that will allow you to download everything we're going to go over today. That way you'll be able to have it ready for you while you watch tonight's video. Tonight's newsletter, we'll talk about the markets today. Volatility returned in a big way today. We had crude moving, gold moving, Russell moving, plenty of trading opportunities today. We're going to take a look at what happened in the markets today in just a few moments. We'll take a look at what happened in the news today. Today was another day without many major news. But don't tell that to the price action. The price action was very volatile for us today, so we definitely didn't need any. We'll talk about the news today in a moment. This day in history, we'll take a brief look in the rearview mirror and see what's happened in the past. Buddha was born today, Picasso dies, and my good friend Hank Aaron makes baseball history today, this day in history. And of course, we'll talk about the news today, or the news tomorrow, We finally have some Red Star news on the calendar for tomorrow. We'll talk about that in a moment. And then we'll roll up our sleeves and we'll grab our charts. I've got a bullish chart on crude, bullish on gold, and Mini Russell is having a little bit of an identity crisis right now, trading sideways. We'll open up some charts in just a few moments. So that's what you can expect in tonight's nightly newsletter, so stick around. Reflections from today. Let's see what happened in the markets today. Crude oil, the old black gold, Texas tea, finally breaks out of its range. Finally is right. We've been waiting for crude to finally move. Crude opened up at its highs today and never looked back, kept pushing higher. Had a very nice wide 200 ticks of range today on crude. We were looking forward to that. And a closing print just above $102 a barrel, $102 a barrel, moving 1.62% higher today. It started off a little bit sluggish, but boy, this afternoon turned into a very good session for crude oil traders today. How about gold? Gold had a very big move overnight, but then by the time we woke up in the U.S. this morning, it was trading sideways. We'll take a look at that chart in just a moment. 175 ticks of range, little bit higher than average, but definitely a typical trading range. And a closing print today just above that 1,300 big round number. Almost 1% higher on gold today, just shy of 1%. How about the Russell? The Russell, of course, a wide trading range, but we still traded inside Monday's range. Very interesting scenario. If you looked at the 200 ticks of range that the Russell gave us today, you would have thought, boy, there's no way it was inside yesterday's range, and it did. It stayed inside the range completely from Monday. Don't forget, I'm going to grab some charts in just a moment. And then, of course, our closing print, we went higher today, but again, inside yesterday's range. So went higher, almost just shy of half a percentage point, and closing the day at 1139.5. So again, crude oil breaks out of the range finally. Gold pushes higher overnight. The Russell still suffering from a bit of an identity crisis right now, trying to figure out whether it's bullish or bearish. But I'll tell you right now, if this is tough price action on the Russell right now, I'll take this every day of the week because we had a great time in our trade room today trading the Russell. Let's talk about the news today. Now, we didn't have any major news on the calendar today. We did have some minor news reports, though, on our radar. We heard from the JOLTS report today at 10 o'clock, right? The job openings and layoffs. That report showed more job openings, fewer layoffs, although at very slight improvement. It is definitely showing a steady, but again, very slight improvement in the jobs market here in the U.S. The biggest news, that should be 4:30 p.m., At 4:30 p.m. this afternoon, we saw the largest build since 2013, June 2013, from the API, the American Petroleum Institute, their crude oil inventories. Now, the day before Wednesday's inventories on crude, we hear from the API crude oil inventories. This evening at 4:30 p.m., again, that's a typo, that should be 4:30 p.m., we saw a build in inventories. That means there is more inventories than we have, right, more supply than there is for demand. So that should push prices lower tomorrow. But we're going to wait because we have a very important report tomorrow at 10:30, and that will be the report that puts a stamp of approval on this evening's API number. So the API number is a little bit of a heads up, a little bit of a foreshadowing ahead of tomorrow's DOE report at 10:30 a.m. So we'll be talking more about that news for tomorrow in just a few moments. But remember, got a nice big clue here for where prices might be going tomorrow after 10:30 in the morning on crude. This day in history, pretty active day in history, some pretty remarkable stuff happened on April 8th. April 8th, that's right, that's 563 BC. Yeah, that's a little ways away from where we are today. This is a pretty cool one. The Buddhists celebrate the birth of Gautama Buddha, the founder of Buddhism. Now, there is a lot of speculation on exactly when Gautama Buddha was born, but this is the official day that is celebrated, right, in the Buddhist religion for the birth of their leader, right, for the founder of Buddhism. So, pretty special day there for the Buddhist religion. April 8th, 1973, famous artist Pablo Picasso dies at age 91. Pablo Picasso spent 80 years contributing to what is now known as the modern art, right? Pretty incredible, pretty incredible. If you follow that link, you can learn all about Pablo Picasso. Pretty remarkable individual. And then, of course, can't forget about this. April 8th, 1974, it was Jackie Robinson who broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball. Hank Aaron followed afterwards, only 8 years later, and Hank Aaron hits his 715th career home run, breaking Babe Ruth's legendary record. And this record by Hank Aaron still stands today. Now, Hank Aaron was one heck of a baseball player. And what's even more remarkable is that Hank Aaron also holds the total hits record. Now imagine a home run hitter also owning the batting title, the number of base hits. That doesn't happen anymore, right? There's no sluggers in the major leagues that also hit for an average, at least not that many. So pretty remarkable person, not only for what he stood for in the overall big scheme of things, right, outside of baseball, but for also the fact that he was a true baseball player. He hit for slugging, he hit for average, and he still holds those records for career home runs and for total base hits. Pretty incredible. Let's keep going. Now, of course, news for tomorrow. We've got some important news here tomorrow. Finally have some Red Star news on the schedule for tomorrow. We've got 10:30 a.m., we got crude oil inventories, and then we have the Red Star news, which is the FOMC meeting minutes tomorrow afternoon. Now, as we go lower here, I'm going to talk more about how we're going to be trading crude oil inventories. So make sure you take some time, open up the worksheet, and make sure you go through the plan where we begin with our inventories tomorrow at 10:30. Basically, we need to be aware tomorrow morning is probably going to be a little bit sloppy on crude before the news comes out. And we are going to sit on hands 15 minutes before and at least 10 minutes afterwards. I always tell people in the trade room 15 minutes before, 15 minutes afterwards, right? Sit on those hands. It gets real sloppy before the news comes out, 15 minutes before, and it tends to be pretty volatile 10 to 15 minutes after. So I'm going to be sitting on hands 15 minutes before, and then I'm going to give it a little bit of time, roughly about 10 to 15 minutes after that news comes out. So between 10:15 and 10:45 tomorrow, be careful trading crude. And then also remember, later in the session, we have our Red Star news tomorrow too. Typically, when we have news at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we typically see lunchtime settle in a little bit earlier as traders leave their desks early so they can come back early ahead of the news tomorrow afternoon. So look for a sloppy day before the news tomorrow morning on crude. And also look for an earlier start to the lunchtime session, probably just after 11 a.m., so traders can get to lunch and come back ahead of tomorrow's Red Star News at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, let's grab some charts. Let's open up these charts and let's see what we have to work with for tomorrow. First of all, starting with the crude oil futures. Here's my VIP chart. Everything looks bullish on this VIP chart, and this was after a day where everything looked bearish on crude. Just incredible the amount of volatility and all the action we're getting right now. I'll tell you, I wouldn't want to be a long-term trader, but I definitely love being a day trader right now because there's all kinds of opportunity every second of every day. So we've made a complete reversal from yesterday. Big clue here is we're above the previous week high. Keep an eye on that 101.97. We'll call it 102. Stay above 102, and you're bullish. We had an opening print at the highs. That was bullish. Closing print at the highs. That was bullish. Volume at the highs. Bullish. 2-day relationship. Higher. Bullish. Now, we did have a relatively wide range. Whenever we have a rather wide range today, we typically see a narrow range tomorrow. So keep an eye on that. Okay, look out for a narrow range tomorrow, especially since we have crude oil inventories at 10:30. And then, of course, 102.62. If I get an opening print tomorrow above 102.62, I'm looking to buy. An opening print tomorrow below 179, I'm looking to sell. And as I've said here today a few times this week already, keep an eye on these previous week's highs and previous week's lows. So if we end up going lower tomorrow, you know we're going to be hunting for that prior week low. I know it doesn't seem realistic to think we're going to go lower, but hey, yesterday we thought we were going to be selling off today. Didn't happen that way. So don't try to predict. Just wait to react. If we get above the high from today, we're bullish. Below the low from today, we're bearish. And of course, don't forget, if we open up inside the range tomorrow, expect a narrower range than normal because of the wide range today, and be on your best behavior before tomorrow's 10:30 inventory report. You can see here on our 64 anchor chart, we're pushing our way higher here. I've got my eyes on the 103.07 and that trend line here overhead. These are going to provide us with lots of resistance. We will definitely be looking to sell at this resistance. If it blows right through it, we know we're headed up to that 107 area. We haven't been there in a while, so we're going to look forward to seeing what happens here, possibly this evening or tomorrow morning around that 103 big round number. We're only a hop, skip, and a jump away, and that's going to provide a lot of great resistance that will help us take profit on our longs and look for reversals to get short. Moving forward here, 16 anchor shows me we have a bullish channel. We got higher highs, we've got higher lows, and you'll also notice if you look closely here, we are trading at the high right now. Now, if you've been listening to me for more than a few days, or if you're a member of mine at schooloftrade.com, you know that when we have a bull channel, where's our best bet? Where do we want to be participating on a bull channel? At the lows, right? The number one priority when we have a bull channel is get me down to those lows because I want to buy those lows as we go higher. But bottom line is, I always want to buy at a discount. And right now, if I buy, I'm buying at a premium. I'm not buying at a discount. We've made new recent higher highs. So what I'm looking for is I want price to pull back, get me priced out at a discount now, and allow me to enter the market long using the 101.32 and the 152 as my big numbers there. That's where I want to get buying at. And then if I can get long, I have profit targets overhead. Now I need to use the top of that channel. That top of that channel will be a target. And then I've got more targets overhead at 104.23, 104.75, and 105.69. As you can see here, crude is very bullish on this chart. But be careful, don't buy at these highs, buy on pullbacks. If it doesn't pull back, we'll do our best to get in long at whatever pullback we can get. But I know that this is where I want to be entering, down at the lows of this range, right? Very easy to project our plan on crude. Now all we need is for this price action, right, to help us out and pull back. Moving on here now, over to gold. We have our gold VIP chart. The gold VIP chart here this evening, as you can see here, the gold VIP. We had a big gap up here on gold, so moving from crude now to gold. Big gap up, overnight. News came out of Europe, pushed the gold higher. Most importantly, though, pushed it above the prior week high. And as much as they tried to, they couldn't get this price back below that prior week high. That's a really bullish clue that we see there. So gap up, and with that gap up, we then decided, okay, well, the work's been done. Traded sideways here during the U.S. session, but again, above that prior week high. Very, very big clue. We gapped up at the open, very bullish. Closing print. Now this is where things start to get a little bit hairy here. You'll see the volume in the middle. You'll see the closing print in the middle. So it looks like that news that pushed this price higher, that news, well, it kind of lost a little bit of its oomph, right? Lost a little bit of its strength here because after that news, well, whatever the news was that pushed overnight, we know that we closed in the middle. The volume in the U.S. session was in the middle. We were bullish over 2-day. And we had another very narrow range here today on gold in the U.S. session. It was a relatively wide range overall. But what we're focused on is the U.S. session here in this newsletter. And so the range was quite narrow. And remember what happens when we have narrow ranges. We usually see a very big move coming right around the corner. Moving on here. From the gold VIP chart to the gold anchor chart, you'll notice here we finally have backed off the support level here at 1287.7. As we pushed higher. The only trouble we have right now is that we're stuck. I've got a moving average below me. I have a moving average above me. We're basically stuck between 1315 and 1300 right now. Okay, that's what we're trading in right now. If we go higher, I have 1334.9. That'll be an excellent spot to look for a selling opportunity. If we go right through it, I have another resistance level over top here at 1368.3. Both of those levels will be excellent spots to look for selling opportunities. But as you can see, though, we're nowhere even close to that right now. So the big thing right now on gold is I'm going to expect a little bit more of this sideways chop and slop here until something comes along here and pushes us out of this range. No matter what happens or why it happens, we know that we have support below us at 87.7, which I'll be a buyer, and resistance above us at 1334 to 1348.6. I'm going to buy at support, I'm going to sell at resistance, and so on and so forth until something changes. And that something just might be tomorrow afternoon. We hear from the FOMC meeting minutes tomorrow at 2 p.m. Even though those meeting minutes are 2 weeks old, almost a month old, we still know there will likely be a reaction to it. Now again, we have some we get some bullishness on the gold here this evening. You'll notice here we're making higher highs, higher lows. We are officially now above all the key moving averages. We have a bullish channel on our chart. Very, very easy. We just talked about this on crude oil. I want to buy when I have a bullish anchor chart, but I don't want to buy at the highs. I want to buy at the lows. My number one priority when it comes to a bull channel is I want to buy the lows of that bull channel. So I buy the lows of the bull channel. I've got 1305, I've got 1299. Very simple plan of attack. I'm going to wait to see if I can get into a buy. If I can get into that buy, I've got targets overhead at 1316, 1322. And if for some reason, just remember, you will use the top of that channel also as a target. All right. The way it looks right now, though, you should be able to get to that first yellow line without running into that channel. But between the two targets, though, you may run into that channel high. So make sure you take your profit off at the channel high. All right. Don't try to get too greedy up to that 1322.4 because you don't want to miss this big runner. On last night's newsletter, we called the trade long on gold, which you can see was posted below the video tonight. And that trade also will be working towards that 1316.6. Okay, so nice buying opportunities on gold today. And then last but not least, we have the mighty mini Russell. Again, at first glance, if you were just watching an entry chart today, you would have had no idea that we were still inside the range from Monday. It was amazing. We had 200 ticks of range today, straight up and straight down and back and forth. One very big clue is that we're still below the prior week low. Remember how I said gold and crude, right, above the prior week highs, making it very bullish. This is below the prior week low, making this clue very, very important. The bears are definitely still in charge. We had an opening print today at the lows, which initially told us that we were going to be trying to go lower, but that didn't happen though. So opening print at the lows, that was bearish. But that's about all we got as far as bearishness. You'll notice we closed relatively in the middle. It's tough. It's really tough for me to say that a day that was completely inside yesterday's range was bullish or bearish, right? It's tough for me to say that. So volume in the middle, closing print relatively, we'll say the volume and the closing print was in the upper 2/3, but it was just above the middle of that range. So I'm not going to go making any bold statements saying we're bullish right now. But if we get an opening print tomorrow above this 46.5, right, we get 46.5. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's change that. Let's say 1147, right, because that's the high. That's the previous high of day, right? That's from Monday. So we'll say 1147, opening print tomorrow. That means at 9:30 tomorrow morning, if we're above the 1147, we're looking to be a buyer, and we're going to go right up to that 1186.4. That's going to be our target. Remember, keep an eye on those prior week highs, 1190.4, 1144.7. All right, so I'm looking for an opening print tomorrow above 1147 to be bullish. Looking for a closing print tomorrow below 1125.2, right? That's the low from Monday. So get me outside the high or the low from Monday, and we're going to follow that direction. Moving forward, on the Russell, here's my 64 anchor on the Russell. Pretty sloppy here, but we are below all the key moving averages now. So in this bearish channel where we have lower highs and lower lows, in this bearish channel, I'm looking to sell short at areas at 1158.2 to 1165 and 1177 to 1183.6. Now, this is a very slow time frame. This is quite a ways off. The most important thing that I want you to see right now is that we are sitting right inside this support. So we're not going to have a very easy job going lower here until something else, maybe tomorrow afternoon's FOMC meeting minutes, but something else needs to come out and give these buyers or sellers some confidence here to push this price either higher so I can get into a short trade going lower again, or push it lower, get through this area, and we can get on to bigger and better things tomorrow afternoon. So a very sloppy, but again, range-bound session there on the Russell. We move forward to our last chart this evening on our 16 anchor, and we can see here it's slightly bullish right now. We definitely have a slight bullish tone to it. I got some higher lows, I got some higher highs. We're above the key moving averages, but you can see though here we have this little kind of weave of moving averages here. So it definitely shows us that we are right on top of each other. There's not a lot of strength. We've got actually, now that we look at it, there's actually a lower low and a lower high here. So tough to say which direction is more likely to go here. If I had to guess, I would say the long side is the better side, just because we're getting that bullish kind of tone to it right now. But really, for the most part, though, we're going to treat this market like a sideways range, which means we're going to buy the lows down here. Right, we got a couple different areas here. I got 1130.5, and of course we have the 1125.2. Buy the lows. Sell the highs, right? You got 1147, you got 1144.5, 1142.5. So we want to buy the lows of the range and sell the highs of the range. And if my guess is correct about the long side being the better side, we have a projection target overhead. So if we do get the breakout, and if we can grab a buying opportunity above that 47, I have targets waiting for me here at 1153 and 1156.5. So if we do break out to the upside, I've got two targets waiting for you guys. If we head off to the downside, I'll have to find you guys some updated information tomorrow morning in my live trade room. Remember, guys, all of these levels that I'm using here this evening are tradable levels. I'm going to find an entry pattern after we hit any of these levels. To find those entry patterns, come out and join me tomorrow morning in my live trade room as a student of School of Trade. We open up at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. If you head right over to our website over at schooloftrade.com, we have a free trial membership. Join the free trial at School of Trade. You can learn all about our 3 membership levels. And then also, don't forget, tomorrow morning, I'll be updating all my charts so that everyone in my trade room can trade right along with me tomorrow morning. If you're not watching this video on our blog right now at Sideways Markets, make sure you register for our newsletter on the left-hand side. And if you'd like to get a free invite, a free pass to attend our live trade room as a guest, make sure you register by following the ticket in the upper left-hand corner. Don't forget, you can download all of these charts right from SlideShare. The link is right below this video. And as always, I look forward to your feedback. If you have any feedback for me, if you'd like to see me do something differently, if you'd like to see more or less of something, or you got some ideas for me, I would love to hear that feedback. I've got someone standing by 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to help you guys get started your new career as a day trader. And once again, don't forget to learn it so you can earn it. And we'll see you guys same time, same place tomorrow. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.